We are in javelins, freelancers. Welcome to AnthemCast. Hopefully that sounded like Gaz's intro, but unfortunately, as you can see, Gaz is not here, and he is being replaced by Steve the Grabbit. As many of you know, Steve the Grabbit is a much-loved Grabbit, and it's been a huge challenge and an honour to get him here, but he is. So, welcome, Steve. It's not very talkative. We'll leave it like that, shall we, before it gets weird. How are we all today? Thank you for holding out for us. I know usually we start about 28 minutes earlier, but I was trying to hold out to see if Gaz was going to join us today, but unfortunately, I don't think he looks like it. So what we've got today, and what we're going to try and do, is a little bit of a run-through of some of the gameplay that we saw from the Paris Game Week. Which was quite an interesting stream. I know it had a few technical challenges, but we got there and we got to see some new gameplay, right? So we got to see some actual Interceptor, we got to see some actual Storm properly, and also we got to see the Lost Arcanist as well. So I thought what we'd do today, though, is also, because it is just myself, and I'm just a boring English guy, so if you have any questions or anything that you want to run through, I can. If you just tag at Anthem Universe in the Twitch chat, and then we will just go through each of those questions as I sort of run through the gameplay and hopefully try and make it as interactive as possible. So, what did everyone think of the gameplay that we saw? I actually thought it was personally pretty good. Obviously, we know that it's an alpha and work in progress, right? So there was obviously some problems with things like the Storm Cape, right? Where it looked like a bit of cardboard which was taped to the back of the Storm. But obviously we know from previous gameplay footage that it doesn't look like that, right? And then we saw, I think what we also saw, actually what I forgot is a comparison. So let me just try and pull that up. We've actually got a comparison here. I don't know if you guys can see that in stream now. But we've actually got a difference between the top one, which is what they were playing actually in the demo, in the gameplay demo, and then the bottom one. Now, actually, if you break that down and actually have a look, it's obviously a lot cleaner, right? Yeah, absolutely, right, point out NGX. But actually, the amount of textures and vegetation that you see is massively different, right? There is a huge amount of texture difference. And you can see that pretty clearly between the top and two. So interesting, they haven't sort of come out and said what the PC requirements are yet, right? We know that this is rendering on PC, so I would be interested to see what the rendering requirements are to actually achieve the bottom picture. So, you know, in my PC, and I will be playing on console as well, but my PC's, you know, it's a i7 8700K with a 1080 Ti, right? So will I be able to achieve the bottom at 60 frames per second? I hope so, but we don't quite know yet whether they were running, what type of machine that was actually running that. Question from a Squiddy Game, Anthony, DLC Javelins. Do you know what? We've asked this question many times. I can pretty much guarantee that I will put my name on the line, Anthem Universe on the line, to say that yes, I would assume that Javelins will be a purchasable thing later down the line. It would be a missed microtransaction opportunity, right? Let's put our balls on the table, right? It would be a missed opportunity for that not to happen. NGX, my PC is a glorified word processor anymore. Well, that's why you got consoles, right? That makes life a little easier. So yeah, as you can see, right, from the top to bottom, I don't know, Steve, have you got any comments, mate? No, he's not going to say anything either. But yeah, no, absolutely. The top and bottom is sort of night and day, and I feel a little bit sad for obviously the guys for the devs and, you know, for BioWare a little bit, that obviously they weren't able to show in stream what Ultra looks like. I don't know whether it's just an easy muck up on their part or not, but yeah, unfortunately, because yeah, as we've seen before, right? And I know that devs were sharing on Twitter loads of different pictures and loads of screenshots showing what Ultra looks like. So it's just unfortunate that for the stream, they only had it set to what looks like standard or normal. Anyway, so we sort of pulled together a few running points really from the actual AMAAA gameplay. What I'll do is if I sort of bring it up, and then if you guys get any questions at the same time, no, let's leave Steve up. Where are we going? Game 4 week comparison. There we go. Let me start that from scratch. So, as we're running through, obviously, can you guys see that? Is that big enough? Is that big enough? Let's make it a little bit bigger, shall we? There we go. So as it starts, right, as you can see, right, we're running through with Storm. Bit bigger. Is that a bit bigger? Bit better? There we go. Right, okay, cool. So as you can see, right, we start out and they're just basically running through what Storm looks like, and that's like the base of Tarsis, right? Which the Storm just looks cool, like its movement. I don't know about you guys, right, but Storm is definitely becoming a bit of a fan favorite. So yeah, that's right, we will have another stream on the 1st of November, so hopefully that, I'm pretty sure that they will pre-prep again. But as you can see, right, we've got a bit of the Ranger, we've got a bit of Colossus, and we've also got the Interceptor there. But as you can see, the Storm's running around on the ground, and it actually looks really good. Like, you know, it's very elemental. Squiddy Game, no, unfortunately, I'm not. I don't know what the Interceptor abilities and gear slots will be. I'm pretty sure that when we come to the 1st of November, that will happen. I can only really discuss about what's shown in this gameplay today, and what's already been announced. Unfortunately, and BioWare themselves will be the guys that obviously release all the information first, unless EA decides and obviously BioWare give us a little nugget of information we're allowed to drop out early. I doubt it. Smoky MacPot 64 Colossus and Interceptor for you. I just from watching gameplay of the Colossus, I'm a huge Colossus fan. I like to run and gun and take a lot of pounding basically. But yeah, absolutely. So as you can see, right, we're at the top of Fort Tarsis. The guys are obviously going through and just sort of running through and discussing what some of the gameplay mechanics are. But as you can see, the world looks pretty big, right? And to scale, right? The guys are pretty big and to scale, which is what which is obviously sometimes the most important piece. Obviously, we've also got emotes. I'm not sure what it's going to be like seeing a Colossus do a dab, but or how we're going to be able to obtain those, but that would be pretty funny if we could. So running through these, we actually wrote down some notes specifically around this. So what we got is we got loads. So we got some concerns. So what the mission we're seeing, right, is the Lost Arcanist, and I'm sure you guys will want to probably run down on some lore and stuff like that. But we'll try and space that out to a different episode, just so we can sort of cover off what we sort of saw today. And then if you guys have got the same concerns and stuff, then just sort of let us know. So we see elements of the javelins, obviously skimming water locations, and of course entering waterfalls and enabling the cooling of thrusters through, without the need to go completely underwater, which was actually really cool, right? When we saw that, so that's actually a really, really important thing that we saw, was that the guys are able to cool down your jets without actually having to deep dive into water or find water jets. So if we skim low to the ground, then that will actually prolong our flight time, which is actually that's a quite cool mechanic. And you will see that going through. Then we're also informed that a Corvus agent by the name of Tassun has approached us to find out one of their lost Arcanists, or Mateus, right? So Mateus is, have we come across Mateus before? I can't quite remember. We got insights into the idle animation and stance for Storm and Interceptor, of which we had historically seen much, obviously less. Storm's arm pulses and stuff, so that was also pretty good. Grabbits glow in the dark. Yeah, I don't think they were Grabbits, you know. The things that we saw that were glowing in this bit, I don't think those are Grabbits. Like, Grabbits are by his feet right now. Look, they're like peacocking looking things. Or Steve, we should say. Have a look at Steve. But those other things, they're glowing. I don't think they're Grabbits. I don't know what they are, but I don't think they're Grabbits. They don't look way too big to be Grabbits. Yeah, they were shooting at them. That's right. Yeah, but I don't know. They don't look too much. They don't look Grabbity for me, but we'll see. What else is there? Then we also had inside one more. Then we also got a loot box opened, which was pronounced, and the sort of the gear opened up outwards, which was pretty cool. Yes, we got to see some actual loot boxes, which is great. So we know that there is loot and how we would possibly get loot, right? I would have roasted Grabbit meat with a flamethrower. Wow. That's I know that there's a Protection of Grabbits Twitter account. I'm going to make sure I post that to them, just so that we start share warnings of flamethrowing Grabbits. And then what else did we get? So the gameplay footage is actually going through. Well, so then we start to fly off, right? And as you can see, right, and this is actually probably one of the best gameplay bits, right? So we actually launched out of Tarsis, and we're actually seeing the storm fly through into what is actually a pretty big world in terms of scale. And this is flying through. It actually looks like, now I can't quite tell whether they're doing some sort of visualization like character expansion, where, you know, you fly upwards and the world shrinks, and then you sort of zoom and you fly back down, or whether the whole world is actually built that way. But as you can see, when it's flying through it, it actually does look massive and vertically really, really big. So it'll be interesting to actually, I just want to get my hands on it, you know, and actually just sort of see how that feels. Squiddy game, will there be different types of enemies or titans depending on time of day? Don't know. That's a very good question. Will there be sort of nighttime enemies and daytime? That's a very, very good question. We know that there is a day and nighttime cycle. Whether that affects the AI or affects how enemies play out would also be that's also a very, very good question. That's also a good question. This was open. I clicked it. I was trying to toss this. The output was. Oh yeah, so we'll come on to that. As you can see, obviously we're flying through some trees and some world. Hopefully we can get into some battle bits pretty quickly. I did try and cut down the gameplay down so that we can try and get to the best bits as we can see. But we can see, right, there's a storm. Obviously still when flying, even though it's a levitational based exo, has obviously when flying when flying, he actually obviously hits a heat beast, right? So he has to actually then land and cool down, and that also seems to affect the way that it runs as well. So we know that from seeing on stream that when he actually runs, he sort of hovers, right? He does like this little hovering super punch. But when he's overheated, he doesn't seem to actually have the ability to access that either. So I'm guessing you're going to have to be quite careful when you're using the storm to make sure that your thrusters don't actually overheat. That's right, yeah, Jack. So when he overheats, his actual alarm goes it starts to turn to red, which is obviously a pretty good indicator. I haven't seen any of the other javelins have those indicators other than the thrusting bar underneath. So yeah, as we're going through right now, right, you can see that he's hovering now, right? Whereas before he couldn't do that when his thrusters seemed to be. Well, he didn't appear to be able to do that when his thrusters were overheated. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Oh, there's a loot box. So there we go. What do people think of those loot boxes? They thought. What do they think? I thought that was a little bit underwhelming. I suppose I'm thinking more like Destiny, where you got these big solid things flying out of a box, but. they just seem to open up and then fire out like a flare. Pretty quick if we can miss it, right? What do you guys think about the loot boxes? You don't want loot shooting out. Yeah, it's a bit weird, isn't it? Yeah, it's a little bit of a weird one. It's okay, I suppose. I suppose it just they need to be bigger or something. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, there's at least 3 sort of or so boxes. So what we're seeing now is another game mechanic. Obviously, activate the thing, protect the thing, stand inside the circle, and wait for stuff to happen. So, Smoky Macpot, I know we can run through the enemy with the shield, but what about shield bashing? How do you mean? So what we know, as we saw from the Colossus, we can charge, right? Isn't that shield bashing, or are you thinking more like a melee? I can't remember if we saw that in this gameplay actually. Yeah, let's wait and see what we come up with. So what do people think of the shooting style, right? When you're sort of as the Storm, when obviously he goes in and aims, do we quite like the way that it shoots? I do. I quite like it. I think I'm a little bit more used to ME, where you're sort of a bit more of a top-down over, whereas this seems to be just under the arm rather than just over the shoulder. So if you don't know if you played MEA, sorry, MAE, no, MEA. What am I talking about? You hated ME shooting. I quite like ME shooting. We have to remember it's obviously the same people, right? But it does look more fluid. I know maybe the guy who's controlling him is not very good at shooting because he keeps shooting nothing. But we'll see. So maybe that's an indication of auto aim. We don't know. So yeah, well, there we go. So that looked like some type of dash ability. That looks pretty good. So we know that all the javelins also have different dashes, right? And then we got, yeah, you're quite right there, Scar Hives. There's lots of loot pickup too, right? So you can see, so we got shields, we got quite a lot of drops. Yeah, we get quite a lot of drops out of it, don't we? So the complexity doesn't look too bad. I wonder if I put the sound on, then we should, and that shouldn't be overly too in front of me actually. I didn't realise whether I had the sound or not.
Absolutely. The only thing that's
so what else are we doing? We're flying through what looks like some gates. Now that seemed to be follow the signal, right? So that's obviously another game mechanic, not necessarily flight gates. I know there was a lot of talk on Twitter around flight gates, right? Where
lots of enemies to fight.
Where it was meant to be like, you know, fly through this and fly through that. That looked a little... It's a bit too loud. Sorry, my bad. That better?
We're kind of fighting the perfect fight right now. It's almost like we've rehearsed it. Oh, wait a minute. Here's our next clue. Okay.
Perfect.
Actually, I think it was before.
Yeah, the flight gates are obviously a mechanic specifically around, I'm guessing, this mission where you had to fly through, and they look like signals, so very radio based.
5 total.
Steve's very quiet today, isn't he? But yeah, Squiddy game, intermission. Can you return to Fort Tarsis, change Javelin, and then go back to finish the mission? Do you know what? That's a good question. I haven't seen that as a mechanic, and I haven't. I'm not sure whether they've actually asked that. If anyone's actually asked that, I would sort of guess no, because that would seem I think that's half the point, right? Is you're in Tarsis or you're in your Strider and you choose your Javelin and then you set out in that world. I think if you wanted to change Javelin halfway through, it would actually just cancel the mission completely. It would be a little bit... yeah, I don't think you'd be able to do that. But that's the whole point of working in a team, right? It would be interesting to see how much information on the mission you get before you do it. Because then, yes, you could probably plan accordingly. If you just have to go into every mission blindly, then that could probably cause missions, especially if you're doing things like strongholds, I'm guessing, where tactical and sort of situation awareness and your plan loadout is probably going to make a lot of a difference and a lot more importance, right?
Activating your ultimate. So actually, before I do it, maybe give us what should I be doing?
So we get to see a lot of scars, right? I think we get to see some ultimates soon, because who likes seeing the ultimates of? We got to see the Storm, we got to see the Interceptor. What else did we get to see? And we also got to see Colossus, which is another big one. I think that's coming up right now, actually, isn't it? It's the Interceptor, the Colossus one. The Colossus one is just ridiculous. It reminds me slightly. I don't know if you guys have played Fallout, but like it reminds me slightly of like a mini nuke.
Or if you want to finish off multiple targets, that's your choice. Make sense?
Yep. Cool.
Squid Game. Are there any plans for cross-platform after launch? Do you know what? I don't know. Everyone's talking about cross-platform. It would be amazing if it was cross-platform. I don't know what the limitations are right now. Given that this is a PvE game, being cross-platform is actually, in terms of gameplay mechanics, impacting very minimal, I guess, on your gameplay experience. So, it'd be pretty cool. I think the balance between the two will probably be something like cross saves, right? So, which I would be happy with. Crossplay is not so much of an issue, but cross saves would be amazing, right? I wish Destiny did something like that, and the same as the Division, because I've had to put so many different hours into so many different platforms just to achieve the same thing. It would be. Yeah, if we could have cross saves across everything, that would be amazing. Yeah. So as you can see, obviously go through the gameplay. We've not seen much of the Interceptor yet, so hopefully hopefully that bit of gameplay will come up in a sec. So what's your main? So from this gameplay so far, everyone, what's been your most excited piece? And we can discuss that for a little bit.
You'll dart around all the enemies on the battlefield.
Well, the ultimate for the Interceptor is essentially using your dual blades, right, like a ninja would.
I think, do you know what I think for me?
Opponent to opponent and taking them out.
NJX was mostly just disappointed. Oh no. You don't like the melee in a shooter? Yeah, no, that's a good point, I suppose. But I suppose really what you're trying to say, is Anthem really a shooter? Even though it's got a shooter mechanic, it's definitely a looter or an RPG. But if we took the game and we look at it as more of a Dragon Age, right, where obviously it's not a shooter, but we took that type of story, those type of mechanics, are we only disappointed that there's melee in here because we're taking the likes of the Division, the Destinies of the world as loot shooters? Are we only disappointed because we're taking that approach? Or if we came from a Dragon Age Inquisition perspective, would we be quite happy with melees?
So this is the state that you want to play in when you're actually playing with the Storm again.
Yeah, that's right, Adamson. They were clearly not scripted, which is what I quite like, right? So they did show some nuances and they did show some failures, right? Some problems and little bugs in the game, which is actually extremely transparent, right? And for EA, I have to say, for them to allow them to do that,
hopefully he's still there.
is quite shocking. Actually, I wouldn't have expected them to do that. Yeah, Squiddy Go, I think he's talking more along the lines of the Interceptor, where it's probably the Interceptor, by the looks of it, has predominantly more of a melee attack rather than weapons.
This whole new area now. So I'd seen this question come up in the chat, and I didn't quite get the person's name, but it's basically like this whole world, is it open to us? It's not like
that's right. So you're talking about the Interceptor specifically having more of a melee as a main combat focus. Yeah, it's an interesting design choice. But as we know, the Interceptors, in terms of concepts, is how flushed out it is. We don't know, right? So whether that changes or not. But it is its ultimate. It reminds me a little bit of the Destiny's Hunter Super, where just lots of flying knives. Right, which actually I quite like personally. It's quite a nice change rather than having to blow stuff up all the time. Sherry can't go invisible. But.
Little electrical storm.
So these scrappers, where are they coming from? Are they coming from underground?
Inti has said to be a melee focus in its builds too. Yeah. I think it's because of its style of the javelin, right, where it's meant to be this quick dip dash, dip in, dip out, do a bit of damage. Style of javelin. It's very opposite to the other three, right? So it's an interesting contrast. We just have to sort of see how it plays out. I'm hoping that the November 1st stream will be on the Interceptor, so we can actually sort of see how it plays or what the play styles are likely to be, because that would be. I think that will probably give us a little bit more context into how you play it, because obviously all the others are played at range. So, whereas the Interceptor appears to be something that is definitely designed for close quarters. But if you're thinking combinations, right, that's actually not too bad, right? If you've got a Colossus tanking out the front, you've got a Storm chucking in stuff from the bottom, and then you've got like the Interceptor going in and doing a bit of a melee at the same time. That could be a nice little combination going on, depending on what you're doing. And we don't really see enough of that in this gameplay, I don't think. Really sort of the mechanics of how you'd use the different javelins. This one seems to be more of just a running gun playthrough. What the hell is an elite Scar Enforcer? And they look like a beast. Like it's walking around with a wall.
So this is basically like a little mini bomb.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're right there. Every other javelin seems to have an AoE, whereas this one's very single target.
We took advantage of us all not paying attention.
He completely snuck under us here. I gotta get some of this health.
Well, the Interceptor might actually just have, an OP knife. You never know.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Let's clean up the rest of them now, shall we?
There you go.
So I think, that was it. That was the end of the gameplay. So there was no, that was all the gameplay I think they showed, because I definitely didn't cut any out. So, what do you guys think of like the actual mission style, right? What do you think of the game? What did you guys think of the style of the mission? Because there seems to be quite a lot of different mechanics going on in there, right? We had some decent story overlay, but then you sort of had to fly to some places. Sorry, Squiddy, what? So on the 1st November, we get Interceptor gameplay. Fingers crossed, brother. Fingers crossed. Like, yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, we will get some Interceptor gameplay. I'm hoping. They might not. There might be a bit more Storm, or we might get another mission, but absolutely, I'm hoping that they will. I think the community needs it, just to see what the Interceptor really is. We got to see it there as the first look. But hopefully, I think the community just needs to see needs to see it. So hopefully the 1st November, that's what we'll get, but we don't know. But what do people think of the actual mission itself? Right, the Arcanists. We didn't get to see too many creatures, but we definitely got to see a lot of Scar. How do people think that the combat looked? I know that obviously clearly some of the guys playing had some potato aim. Maybe it looks like it might be a bit dull. That mission was a lot of flying to this markers, interact flow marker, rinse, repeat, then a mid-scale fight. Combat looked kind of good though. Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure if you noticed that, Jax, but like there was actually a couple of mechanics going on, right? There was guys flying on there was guys on the floor from what I could see, and then there were people, and then there was those bits in the air, like those gates that people were calling them. I think that's two different levels of mechanic running parallel through the actual mission itself, right? So I am wondering whether that was a multifaceted approach to that mission. No, we didn't see it all. But yeah, no, I'm starting to, after that, I'm starting to see that there is definitely a little bit more to the missions than just run, shoot, fly, and gun. There was definitely different mechanics going on in that. Right, you obviously had shoot the things, you had activate and protect the things, you had carry the things. So yeah, we'll have to hopefully see a bit of more of a proper run through or a playthrough of a game of a mission that actually gives us different mechanics. That would be pretty good. That would be pretty good. Any question? Any sort of anything that you liked? What did you like that you saw from that mission? Is there anything particularly from that mission that you actually liked that you saw?
They're just saying yes.
So if I fast forward it through to the actual mission again.
Matthias is out there, and the
There we
Arcanist,
go.
what you guys missed while we were on the platforms and set up there, he's kind of let us know that, hey, I've got a signal. I've got to be...
Squiddy Game? Yeah, I agree with you. That's what I was sort of saying. There wasn't really much teamwork going on. But I think that's also part and parcel of being a stream at the same time, right? Where you're trying to... That was literally showed the unscripted element of that entire stream, where they're trying to show bits and talk about bits. It would have been probably a little bit better if you had just the UK community manager talking and the dev talking while you had gameplay in the background of a different group of 4. I think that would have probably made it a little bit better in like a wider studio presence. But you know, they're getting used to this streaming thing, right? So give them a little bit of chance, and maybe they might come back and have a different stream on the first. The flight mechanics look really tight, I have to admit. The flight mechanics look really good. You sort of have to worry sometimes about how the flight being such an important mechanic is actually going to be. So we passed a lot of areas, 9 areas counting Fort Tarsis. Did we really pass through 9 areas? Yeah, okay. That's yeah. It does look like a pretty long mission, right? In terms of its length, and a lot of areas that you had to cover. I'll have to read through and see how many actual areas, because I know it does pop up, doesn't it, when you pop into a new area.
A lot of time in the forest taking pictures of trees and modeling trees. Like, was there like a big developer?
Yeah, I think it's definitely one of the earlier missions. I don't think they want to show you any of the end game stuff or any major story breakers just yet.
Okay, so this bit, the Lost Arcanist that we're coming.
Oh, there you go, Alan Sinner. You're all on the board there. So we went through Fort Tarsis, Tarsis Forest, First Refuge, Solarium, Court. It would have helped if you'd commented them. So I'm probably good. The Valentra Paradian, Fool's Dawn Gateway, and Morning's Edge, and Darkwood Barrens. Did I get those right? You put comments in. Don't know.
This is our next location here.
Anthony, what plan will you be playing on? That's a very good question. So I plan to pay PC in the first instance, but then I also play on Xbox and PC, Xbox and PS4 as well. PS4 I usually play for my exclusives and my single player games, and then Xbox is for my multiplayer. So it'll probably be PC. It'll probably be PC first, because my machine's an i7 8700K with a 1080 Ti, so I really want to see what this game looks like with everything turned out.
I mean, this is the freedom of Anthem. You can be on a mission with somebody.
Yeah, I really want to see what it looks like with everything turned on.
And looking out for loot, right?
Does all put in an open? What will you be playing on Squiddy Game? Sorry.
Resources in the world, like there's lots of things you can interactive and sort of learn more about
Secret beta build releasing to public in 2018. I have no idea. I would hope that
they wanted to see some loot,
totally get it, right?
it would be a lot more polished than the alpha work in progress play that we're going to see, but obviously naturally it would be. I don't know, you know, you haven't got a lot of time, right? Because we're what, the end of October right now, and it comes out on the 22nd of February, so we've got November, December, January, and then we're in the month, so it's like 3.5 months. Yeah, it's 3.5 months until launch, and we're sort of still seeing alpha work in progress gameplay. So I don't know if there's going to be a beta. I reckon there is part of the pre-orders, right, where you can where you get the game early, but not by many days, right? But you do get the game early. So we'll just have to wait and see. It would be nice if there was. It would be nice if they could. I don't think they'll do the same. You know, I see a lot of games now are doing these technical tests. I don't think Anthem. I don't think that BioWare will do that because as I've said before, servers are only 4 javelins. So in terms of scale or technical testing and scaling, I don't think they need to do that. But yeah, if they're going to do a beta, then I'd probably guess January. I think developers overall just need to stop calling them betas, because we all know, right? It's actually just a demo. It's a play test for you, because the game's already gone gold by the point that the betas are launched, and the amount of change, if there are any fundamental problems, then they're not going to be able to make it a change by day one, and the day one patches are usually down to UI or some bugs that are found in some mission loading and stuff like that. PS4 will be a solid choice of platform to play it on. Absolutely solid choice. The key, I think, with Anthem and what you're going to find is the key to the platform that you choose to play it on, if you have the ability or the accessibility to be able to play on multiple platforms, is the platform that you have the most friends on. Because I think a game like this, where it is talking about constantly having 4 javelins, and yes, there's matchmaking and so forth, but I ultimately think by everything that's been described, you're going to have the most fun playing with friends, and they've said this, right? More friends is more fun. So, and we all know that going, you know, putting something up on an LFG site, and you always get someone that literally just wants to ruin your day. So, just pick the platform that you're going to have the most fun on, or have the most friends on. I think that's going to be the best choice. I really hope my laptop can run this. Gaming high, i700, GTX 1060. Do you know what, mate? I think you'll be able to run that with a 1060. I reckon you'll be able to run that on standard to high, right? I'd hope so. Anyway, but as we said, they haven't released any specs yet for PCs to be able to even hit Ultra. So I'm slightly worried. You know, they could be running some Titan Vs or Titan Xs to be able to get this Ultra gameplay. I've got a 1080 Ti, so I'm sort of hoping that to get the game to look the best. But to be honest, as long as you can play the game in a decent frame rate, really the textures, all they do is just add visual aid. It doesn't actually change the mechanic of how you enjoy playing or shooting. So as long as you get a decent frame rate, and you know you actually know what you're shooting, I think a 1060 will be fine. You'll have fun with it. Anything else that I have left to show you? Storm's aim. No, I think I got loads of notes really that would probably sort of be discussed as we went. Could be a crisis, crashes all comps on Ultra. Yeah, it could be. yeah. Playing that, it could be actually completely ruin everything. But I think my last ending notes, I think, really, is sort of as we wrap this up, so we could talk about it forever. Whereas I think it's really brave of them to be showing alpha work in progress gameplay live, unscripted, with a community manager and a developer who are trying to talk and deliver the best possible message that they could possibly deliver, with 2 gamers on the other side
You enjoying your time with it?
in a live stream. Like, so I take my hats off to try and achieve it. I know that they had a bit of an audio issue at the beginning, but you know, it's, and then obviously we found out that then we had the graphical challenges of not checking the graphical before actually playing the game. But I take my hats off to them, and I think they're being extremely transparent. I think that they know they need to be after AMAAA, and they're just trying to create a bit of trust between themselves and the community. So I tip my very English hat to them and say well done for that. I'm hoping that the November 1st stream will be a lot more polished in terms of its delivery to us. I don't think the gameplay and the visuals are of much importance. I think it's their delivery to us in how we're viewing it. So if they could be a little bit more scripted or a little bit more tighter, I think, and a bit more, not professional, but if they could be tighter in their delivery to us over a stream, I think that would be more of a selling point for me. Ultimates cannot be changed. No, as far as we know, each javelin has a fixed ultimate, right? So what we saw was we have the Ranger, which has basically this Tony Stark like missile firing system. Then we've got the Colossus, which has like the mini nukes. Storm, which just brings just a barrage of thunder. And then we've got the Interceptor, which looks like basically a melee knifing thing. So, as far as we know, they're fixed. But what they're going to be when the game comes out is they may be slightly different. We don't know. Oh Lord, yes, okay. Can't change melee. No, melees are fixed per javelin as well. I'm not sure whether that's a balancing thing or what. But the melee just seems to be a different animation. Yes, I think the melee is just a different animation across different javelins.
I've also got my shield. This is super cool. I love this.
Yeah, with Ben and Mike playing, we might see some res mechanics. Yes. So that, I don't know if you just saw then. So that was the charge for the. It's a shame you didn't do the shield charge actually. If you can see that one, that's a bit of a shame. Thunder, fire, and ice. Yeah, it does. Right, it uses all three different elements. So yeah, that's an interesting one, right? The storms, the ultimate. If you could. So I'm wondering how that plays out with the different combos, right? Because obviously we know that we have that combo animation. So yeah, we'll see.
Get down low.
All right, guys.
Just bowling pin into a load of enemies.
Any questions or concerns that you'd like to get off on the stream? I appreciate, obviously, Gaz wasn't here today, so Steve the Grabbit was. Any questions for Steve?
Mother of Grabbits. Don't fly away.
Nice.
That's me.
There's the Interceptor. That's the Interceptor's ultimate.
So this is like a really cool like hack and slash.
Yeah, why is Steve so serious? I don't know. I think he's fed. I think he got annoyed with the flamethrower of the Grabbits, Mark. So I think he got a little bit shocked by the fact that you wanted to flamethrow him.
And going from opponent to opponent through time. While you're in that stage,
So each javelin has a movement ability. Do we know all four? Are you talking about the movement ability is in the ability to the way it moves or the way it flies, or are you talking about the dash?
right? Again, the Storm's hover ability, right? What you're seeing here is ice shards, right? Essentially, when I hit the opponents with this,
They're dodges. Yeah, no, I don't think we've seen all of them yet. We know what the javelins, we know what the Ranger is, right? It does that whole flying thing in the air. What it does on the ground, we're not too sure. Obviously, we know with the Colossus, it's a shield, right? The Storm does like this little teleportation thing, and the Interceptor looks like just like a quicker than quick that it already does move. But what I'll probably try and do is see if I can find through some gameplay and capture them all, and I'll chuck them out on Twitter. See if we can grab all the different dashes together. Yeah, Squiddy. What I'll do, as I said, I'll try and see if I can find them all in one and collate them together, and then I'll chuck them out on Twitter as well, just to see if we can see if that's enough to collect them all. Alright guys, look, I'm going to wrap it there, purely because I don't want to bore you anymore, and it's Sunday morning for most of you, whereas it's Sunday lunchtime for me, and I'm going to go and have a roast dinner with my family. Thank you all very much for joining. I'm sorry Gaz wasn't here, but it was fantastic to have you with us. If you aren't part of the Discord, right, a lot of the guys who are in here now are obviously part of our Discord. Go to discord.anthemuniverse.com. It's a fantastic Discord. Everybody that is in there, I cannot commend enough. We've got lore channels where the guys are talking some amazing lore stories about children in Tarsus. We've got some sorry, I'm choking up. Well, what we've also got is we've also got some announcements. We've got Twitter feeds in there. We've got some chat rooms specifically for the podcast. We've got a bot room. We've got a dank meme room, everything like that. But really, just come and join us and say hello and just join in the conversation. Really. Then what we've also got is the website. So if you go to anthemuniverse.com, and there you can find sort of the latest articles that we've put together. Gaz has actually just done a brilliant documented version of this gameplay, so you can go around and have a read of that. And also follow us on Twitter, which is at AnthemUniverse as well, which is sort of our main social media delivery. We do have a Facebook page, but we need someone to help us build with that, so we're not very good with Facebook. And then also AnthemCast, right? So you can listen to the actual podcast itself. So whether it's on iTunes, whether it's on Pocket Cast, Podcast Addict, anywhere you want, you can listen to this show on a podcast within 24 hours of this broadcasting. Obviously, you can watch us here at Anthem Universe on Twitch. And you can also, YouTube, we're slowly starting to build out as well. So, obviously, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. Sorry about Gaz not being here, but I hope I did you all justice and you enjoyed 39 minutes of your time. But until next time, freelancers, we will see you over the wall.